Okay, Lafolua, Malolele. Welcome to the Prepare Pacific Live Dalanoa tonight. Very excited to have our panelists with us tonight who are sharing their time with us. It's very exciting. With us we have Reverend Sam Lafolua, who is a minister from the E Whakasa Church in Onehunga. Lafolua, welcome.
Talofa, Sandra.
Aloha, Reverend, it's so good to have you. Also with us, we have from the New Zealand, well, under the New Zealand Methodist Church, but from the Tongan Methodist Church, heavily involved with the youth and heavily involved with many, many things. Mate maa Tonga to be one of the many things, and representing hard with her red tonight. We have Alisi Tatufu, who is a Year 9 Dean at Mangere College, and it's great to have you, Malolele. Welcome to you, Alisi.
Malo, Sandra.
Thank you. And representing, not that we're not young, Alisi and Reverend Sam, but from the Do Good, Feel Good youth mobilization group, we have one of their youth leaders who's with us, Stephen Eseese, who's also studying to be a civil engineer at Unitec. Lafolua. Hi, Stephen. Welcome.
Lafolua.
Oh, it's so good to have you guys. So really, tonight we just wanted to talk a little bit. Last week we had our first panel, and we were just talking about some of the cultural aspects. And this week we saw in the news that the Prime Minister has announced that they're relaxing the rules around gatherings when it comes to family gatherings, funerals, even churches, and that they're extending that up to 100 people. So we're going to talk a little bit about that first, but I wanted to ask you guys, when it comes to talking about what's been happening in the levels, can you just share a little bit about what's been maybe a challenge for you guys, and also something that's been an enlightening moment for you? And I'd like to start with you, Reverend Sam, about what's life in the levels been like for you.
Oh, for me, I think it's been good. I've always wanted to work from home, and so it was a good time to experience that. But I think for me, more importantly, it was time to spend with family as well. I think we spend so much time doing other things that we don't really have that quality time. Well, I don't seem not to have that quality time with family. So the lockdown really was good reflection around those sort of things, and reprioritizing, I guess, things that were important in my life and should be at the top of the priority list. And I think one of the things enlightening for me is the amount of time I spent on technology. I know there were times where you just bored that you just wanted to see, what are my friends up to, what are my colleagues up to, what are my families up to. So there was a lot of time spent on technology. And the other benefit for me was I connected with my Tongan neighbour, and so we'll sort of do walking in the backyard,
Nice.
and just it was really cool. We just sort of say hi, but we don't really talk. But during the lockdown, we're able to talk over the fence.
Well, thank you for sharing that. What about you, Alisi? What was life like in the levels for you?
Well, also for one, just respects to Reverend Sam and to Stephen, representing the millennials. They're a mighty force.
Thanks, Alice.
Both of you. Acknowledging Sandra just for the opportunity. Just want to say, first and foremost, just thank you to our Heavenly Father for bringing us through this unprecedented time. And I know it's not normal times, but I just it was normal. I just want to stress that it was normal to feel a bit anxious. So, yeah, I was a bit anxious, at the start, because I was looking at the community transmission that was happening at our local high school and the impact that had. And, I was, I'm in the education, and so, that was sort of, like, should I go to school? And so when they said lockdown at the beginning of week 8, yeah, sorry, they, what's this? Sorry, I think something is coming through. Can you hear that?
Is somebody trying to get through to you?
Yeah, oh my gosh. I'm so sorry. I'm just going to take that off. Yeah, I was real conscious about, I was thinking, oh my gosh, anything could happen because community transmission. But at level 4, I had sort of a very enlightening time. I was able to write a book during that time.
Sorry, say that again. You were able to what?
Write a children's book.
Oh my gosh.
With David Riley and the former captain of Mate Matonga, Sika Manu, who's based in Melbourne, who became our illustrator. And I had been given like a deadline of finishing it by the end of March. And the last day of lockdown, for schools was on the 28th. Yeah. And I asked David, can you please give me another few weeks? I had done a lot of research and consultation, but I hadn't really written. I had done lots of drafts and got the first draft in the first week. It just didn't really fall, the feedback was a bit light, and I thought, I've got to do a 360, and just reminded that, my audience is about, the 12, 13-year-olds around that age group, and because that's who I saw a lot of at the games, that kind of age group. So, watch the space. The book will be launched in September during the Tongan Language Week. That's so that was I did really feel like just what the Reverend said, just time that I never have. I'm always time poor, and I really wanted to do this just this collaborative book on children, and and just what I bring, and just to sort of bring things into light about what I had observed and experienced the last 3 years, following them from the airport to their matches, to their fan days, and really celebrating these young men who are real, toa, or like the toa Samoa with toa, but we say toa as well. So they were real warriors, and, really added value to just help our Tongan culture, let them embrace it and really take their heritage. So again, and just talking with, the manager and the players and some of the, like John Hopoate was very interesting. So again, I had that time, 4 weeks, level 4. Yeah,
man, you never see
technology. Technology was wonderful. Zoom, Google Meets, which is what some of our schools are promoting, because it's a Google, things that I just hadn't had time to just really look into. But that was my experience. Malo.
Okay, no pressure on any of us that we didn't write a book during that time, but I think that is incredible. That's amazing. Stephen, what about you? I'm wanting to hear about you and what you got up to, or what it was like for you in life in the levels.
So start of lockdown, we never really knew what we were going to get ourselves into going into lockdown, but just as what Reverend Sam said, during lockdown, you realize the amount of time you don't get to spend with your family during like a normal working week, and just out of lockdown, and getting time to sit down and just be like there with each other and like talk. Everyone loves those moments when you're sitting down with your family and you start laughing and sharing memories and making more memories, and those moments during the lockdown, a lot more moments like that was really something special. And like, even spending time with the old man, all the brothers were all builders. They're all builders, they work for those long hours, 7 in the morning to 5 in the afternoon. And, and even unis take forever, you know, you spend long hours there. But having this time to come together, you know, really got to sit down with the old man because, well, the old man himself is a musician.
Ah.
Guitar and his piano. So we got to sit down with him and learn some old school Samoan songs. And he was really just.
Can you do a demo?
Oh, sorry, not at the moment, you know.
Maybe later. Maybe later.
Maybe, you know.
Oh,
but yeah, the old man shared a lot of his music, sharing the background of the songs, and you know, getting to really know the life that Dad lived, and even Mum too. Mum spends long hours. She's a teacher, a primary school teacher, and you know, everyone. Big ups to teachers and to Alisi, you know. Big respects to people in the, you know, working in the education, and it is crazy. And Mum works long hours, and even getting to sit down and talk with her, you know.
Yeah. What about any challenges? Anything for you?
I guess being a uni student is, and this is a common challenge for a lot of us, is learning at home was fun, but then it's not as good as learning in uni because, you know, we get easily distracted when we're at home, and then I don't know, it's like when you're at uni, you like feel like you have to do the work, whereas at your home you can just sit there like nah, I don't want to do it more and stuff like that, you know. And you get really easily like you
turn the camera off during Zoom.
Yeah.
You're present but not present.
See, that's the thing. Like, we could turn into our Zoom lectures and we would not be like listening. We'll probably be doing something else. But like, yeah, I guess that was one of the challenges. And then so that would have to be one of the big challenges for me.
I think it's thank you for sharing, all of you, for that. I think it's really interesting, and you know how everybody reacts to these things differently, and just the pressures that you may feel from family at home, but also from work at being at home as well. One of the things you mentioned, Alisi, I just wanted to ask you around the anxiety and the, you know, a little bit of anxiousness about going into the lockdown. Did you find that you had that going back to school, or did you see that with some of your students?
Yeah, I mean, after 4 weeks, I still wasn't feeling safe. You know, like I just was like, how safe is it? We were told that evidence, you know, the evidence from Ministry of Health to the Ministry of Education said you don't need to wear mask or gloves. You know, it's pretty safe. Community transmission was real low in New Zealand. And I was thinking, not that rest home in Christchurch, not that girls' high school down the road, you know, where I live. And I was like, yeah, so that just sort of got me a bit anxious. But yeah, I just wanted to share some of the challenges was when school started.
Yes.
You know, and you're making videos and you wait for students to come and they didn't even turn up, but they did share when we went back to school. They're like, Miss, we watched your videos. And I was like, yeah, but I was waiting for you guys for our, you know, Google Meet. What happened? They're like, we don't have a device. And it dawned on me that, just the inequity and inequality of in our communities of, you know, the hardship, like you know, it is, you know, it's hard out there for some families. No Wi-Fi, no devices. The ministry had to bring in a modem for some homes, and there's still some students who didn't even get a device, so they were really waiting on for the learning packs. And these are like our year 11, 12 and 13, and it's, you know, we've just lost 6 weeks of teaching, you know, face to face. So yeah, there's a lot of pressure to get them to get their credits and, you know, start, you know, putting that through. So I know Stephen would know, but by term 2, you should be like sitting on 20 all your literacy and numeracy credits. But unfortunately, that's got to be something we've got to address very quickly. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. That anxiety, like I didn't leave our house in that first 4 weeks.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, you're just sort of like mindful of your well-being, but also my mum's well-being, who's getting on, like she's I think 79 next Friday. So your mind. So I never left. I never left the home in that 4 or 5 weeks, I think.
Wow.
And then the first Saturday I leave home, you don't realize how much weight you put on.
Yeah.
And then you go, yeah, okay, better go to the gym, eh? But yeah, that was for me. There was an uneasiness about it, not knowing about things. Yeah, but it must be super hard as a teacher too, and really sympathise around that inequities are.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
Situations like this would really highlight those things. I think in our community.
Yep.
The whole country was saying, 10 people, and then you're expected to teach 5 classes per day of 20 different kinds of kids coming in. So in the first week was about 14, and then the second week was 20, and there's still like about a handful who still have not shown up in the first 2 weeks. So it's just sanitize,
Yeah.
wipe down the tables, sanitize before you leave. So yeah, it's still a bit nerve-wracking sometimes, that we've got different hygiene practices now that we've got to really roll out. And
Yeah. Well, let's move into the whole announcement around the churches and the gatherings, which we did talk about there. What are your plans around going back to church and in your own churches? Reverend Sam, what's happening with your guys' church in Onehonga?
At the moment, nothing, and it probably won't happen this week. I think there's a lot of, I think for us, safety is paramount, because relaxing the rules, I guess, can get a bit out of hand. And I think for us, being a high-risk community, it's a real issue that's always going to be in the back of our minds as, I guess, teachers or leaders in our community and even in our churches. So safety for us is a big thing, and there needs to be a few things around the infrastructure, like making sure that the infrastructure in the church is prepared, but also that in terms of the mindset of the members, we can't play the same game plan pre-COVID-19. We've got a different game that's in front of us, and we need to be adjusting things. So, and that I think that will allow time for, I think, the church as a whole to start to look at different practices within the church, because situations of members and families are changing because of COVID-19, and the church really needs to, I guess, realign things, readjust things, adapt accordingly, so it doesn't. I sort of spoke on the Samoan panel, so the church doesn't become an added burden on people. So those sort of things, so it's keeping that environment safe and making sure that we abide by the recommendations of the ministry, but it's also making sure that other bits and pieces of the church that can impact the families, both positive and in other ways, that needs to be really thought out in a sensible way.
So you're so right. It's so important that to kind of get that right. And I don't know that we were all ready for the pandemic, so we're learning as we go along. Culturally, that mixed with our church and our wanting to go to church and to worship and celebrate. Sometimes we've got to work out what that mix is so that we're not endangering our elders, and those around us.
And it's been comforting, like for me, is like seeing our ministers, our Pacific ministers, seeing their creative side, using platforms like Facebook to get so that creativity and taking that initiative is there.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's just we're I think we're looking at, well, okay, so what's the next level around this, and the level after that.
Exactly.
In terms of, around keeping people safe, but also the support. I think that's a big thing, because the church is a big part of their lives. How do we support families at this time as a church?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stephen, really interested to hear what you have to say around this. Tell us about, you know, which church you go to and what's sort of happening with you guys.
Ah, sweet. So I go to a small little family church. I would call ourselves Faithful Unity Christian Church. And originally started with my dad and his brothers. You know, they started the fellowship together, and you know, humble beginnings, started from a living room.
Mm.
You know, just about 10, 20 people, and now, you know, it's still, we have, most of us are related family, and then we have other few who joined on along the way. And we weren't really worried when because we don't really have, under 100 people. So when we heard the news, but yes, again, what for Reverend Sam said, you know, we have elderly too, and we have that age group where they are vulnerable to COVID.
Yeah.
So being wary of that at the same time, you know, even Nana there too, she's 85, you know, going 85 this year. So
Yeah.
really being wary of our own hygiene practices.
Yeah.
So we're practicing our hygiene, and then even going along with everything. We did not do. Oh, I know a lot of churches have done the online services, and we on like online church services, and we didn't do it because a lot of us, we decided to do our own little service at home. Dad is one of the leaders of the church. Yeah. Dad isn't a pastor, but he's one of the leaders. Well, we don't really have a pastor or a minister. You know, when our leaders get up there, they say, you know, I'm just the same as you. You know, I don't really. Yeah. So the message they try to pull out. So what we done throughout the lockdown was, Dad gave us an opportunity to stand up and, you know, sort of share preach sort of to our own families. You know. And, you know, I guess for me, that's something I probably want to do one day, you know, stand up in front of a fellowship and preach the word of God, you know, and, you know, to start in front of my own family, you know, preach that, you know, your family is your first church, you know, and being able to stand in front of, you know, mom and dad and my family, and being able to share the word of God with them was something special. And having that moment with them was another special moment that we had during the lockdown.
Yeah, that's
so
Awesome.
It was exciting both. So it is exciting staying in COVID-19, having this opportunity, you know, to share, and then going back to church to learn more, you know.
Yeah.
Being in that environment. So yeah.
That's awesome. I've got a comment here from Tina, who's watching live at the moment. And Tina says, very true, Reverend Sam. My mum misses church, but she understands. She's 83 and in the high risk category, and her safety and others around her is paramount. So I know we understand that, but sometimes it's the pull, right, to want to be together, to fellowship, not just in church and family gatherings, even kava, you know, pakatonga, whaikava. We want to do things like that. But what about for you, Alisi, in terms of the church? Because you're heavily involved in the church and also with the youth. How are you feeling about that, and what are the plans?
So I think what's been really great is we have about 35 churches around New Zealand. So you know, most of them are in Auckland, but it goes all the way down to Dunedin. And like the Reverend Sam said, you know, I really have enjoyed our ministers really embracing using online, Zoom and live Facebook to lead our services. But again, there's also been opportunities for my own family, like Stephen's family, just to have our own fellowship at home, which has been great. You know, we can always log in and, you know, see the live, you know, malanga or, you know, the service, but you can also have your own. For the youth, we've had the opportunity to sort of start from our youth convener, Osayasi Kupu, and the minister that looks after the youth, you know, Saturday evening talanoa session as well. And that all comes down to just another platform for our young people from all over. So, you know, we had our youth from Blenheim, Atunaisa Molly, who's a chief player, but you know, he's an All Black, and he had to go back to Blenheim and and his dad works in the vineyards, so they were all in the vineyards in Blenheim, and I followed them on Instagram, but I could see that they all had gone back, and I was like, shot, bro. But this is our young people. We've had Siliva Havili, one of our Mate Matonga players. His parents are ministers at Henderson, but we've been able to invite our youth back who are, have got some influence, or who have to just have that time. So that's how we've been able to allow our young people to take part and just, again, really connect on social media. But also, it's gone not just, just locally in Auckland, but national and quite global. And we've seen some other, other pages go up, like in America. The Methodist youth in America are inviting us or sharing some of our work over there. So again, it's gone real Pan-Pacific as well. So next week, I've been invited to the Canterbury Melbourne Tongan Youth Program. Again, that's one of our Methodist churches with the United Methodist Church in Melbourne, Australia. So, we're able to sort of use these platforms like Zoom and Google Meets or Google Hangout to really share the word of God and, again, fellowship just on a real meaningful way. And, like here, even though we're so much more, it's still quite intimate, through the screen, people can still feel the warmth and the love of God, just because we're so focused, whereas if you're in a church, you could just be texting away, or the minister, just your sort of the physical shell or body, but when you're doing this, totally focused. Or someone sleeping
on Zoom, you
can't really do that on Zoom. Some of our men are like sleeping with their glasses on because they went to cover and focusing.
All of the secrets are coming out now. But it's scary.
It just and I guess that's some of the experience for our young people. Many of the youth are helping their ministers, be creative, making TikTok videos, making really amazing.
Making TikTok videos?
Yes, TikTok. And, they have come up with such amazing, and I just share it onto our main page. And I'm sure everyone's like, why is she, but I just share it because it's about the youth and our elders sort of really embracing. But I'm conscious about, again, I'm anxious going to church because of hygiene and, because it's going to take like schools, we were lucky we've got, our groundsman, the principal was there. We had someone to look after all of that. But at churches, it's going to be a different level. We've only got one person looking after the church. Everyone's got to be responsible about.
I think that's a good point. Everyone's got to be responsible. I know we're going to come to the end of this panel, but what would be one thing that you would, want to share about whether it's been life in the lockdown or, the gatherings or moving to level 1? What's something that you would like to share with others around what you've been experiencing? Let's start with you, Stephen.
Everything with whole lockdown, word for people. Again, just what everyone's promoting, self-hygiene, but then also reaching out to people. Not everyone's going through. It's been a big problem with youth. Not everyone is having that homely environment in their own homes. Their own houses do not feel like their homes, and that's a problem we find with thing. And what we try to push is don't be afraid to reach out to people, or you yourself reaching out to others. Like, hey, only takes a minute to text that person. Hey, how are you? Are you okay? How's the family? It doesn't take that long. Just 5 minutes of your day, just to ask that person, how are you? Are you okay? The family doing well. That's and that to a person could mean a lot. Mostly a young person, who could be going through some things in their family. And that's why going through this whole lockdown, some people feel, but, just showing that person love, making sure that person is thought of, someone in their own home is thinking of you in your own home. So making sure just everyone is okay.
It's
I guess that's the message, you know.
Thank you, Stephen. I think that's a great reminder. Like you said, some people have been in the bubble, but the bubble may not have been a really good bubble. And just taking that moment, yeah, I just think that's really important and such a great reminder for us. Thank you for that. What about you, Alisi? What's something that you would like to share?
I just want to, just share again that these are not normal times, but it is normal to be anxious. It's normal to have these feelings.
Yeah.
But again, I just want to, like what Stephen said, not everyone's experience was like, baking cookies and making banoffee pie.
I didn't bake anything.
Having, all these roast buakatuno whole pigs like these families did. Not everyone had those big feast, because I just kept seeing people, and I realized when I was talking to kids, the quiet ones, who said nah, they didn't bake, didn't cook, like noodles was like, so we talked about noodles and how the best way to cook noodles, because
nice.
you just don't want to like make them feel like, because it was hard for some families. So just talk about basic simple food that we all love, like do you microwave it or do you put it in the so I just to bring it down, because you can tell there's anxiety about sharing, like everyone's like sharing your well-being, but there was clearly not everyone's experience. So it's not, I just just to be mindful of other people and their experiences, and not be like I had the best time with my family. There was clearly domestic violence that shot up during the whole lockdown. So
good point.
Just caring for each other, and reaching out and connecting with others that may not necessarily but maybe when it's level 1, we can maybe visit some of those.
We can have a noodle party. We can have a noodle party in level 1. But I think you're right, Alisi, and such powerful words, both you and Stephen. Just our thoughts are going out to those who haven't had the best experience, and we just want to be able to support them in whatever way we can. Oh, nice, Stephen's in the background there. It's always good to have visitors come into the Zoom with there. What about you, Reverend Sam? What's your last thoughts for us tonight?
I think it's just going back to the tagline that we're all in this together. I think that for me is really important, and it's not, like the rules might be relaxing a little bit, but again, it's probably putting the call out to our Pacifica community is that don't lose sight of the bigger picture and what we're trying to achieve here. And I just thank God that it didn't break out in South Auckland, because
oh my gosh,
it would have been. So we shouldn't be losing sight of that bigger picture in terms of our community as a whole, but we've got to do it together as a community, and supporting each other, being kind, and things like that.
Absolutely.
I think that's a perfect way to end this panel. Thank you all so much for sharing, and just that little slice of your life and what it was for you. And I just very grateful that you've been able to do that with us tonight, and it's just been awesome to just hear the different perspectives and just what's going around in everybody's different bubbles. So in the spirit of Samoan Language Week, whawhatai tele lava and whakamalo au pito. Thank you to our panel, Reverend Sam, Lafolua, Stephen Eseese, and also Alisi Tatufu. Thank you very much, guys. Go well and have a great night.
Take care.